Classroom of the Elite Season 2 threw me all over the place. I went through disappointment, hatred, happiness, anger, warm and fuzzy feelings, and everything else. But one thing I will say is, I thoroughly enjoyed this anime. We can talk about how it isn't exactly the best anime or a masterpiece, but I will admit, no matter how trashy a show is, if I enjoy it, I like it. I don't care how many times I say this, but this is the junk food of anime. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons, I suppose, you can get from this anime, but it's just so extreme that sometimes I feel like I'm only in it for the ride. If I wanted a deeper, more heavier anime, then I could have just watched something else. But no. It's the first time in a long while where I enjoyed 2 seasons of an anime. And not in a way that I said, yeah, that was decent. No, I am loving this anime. I want to start off by saying that the VIP special test arc was kinda disappointing, but not in a way that it was bad. You see, I like when main characters are being patient, playing the long game and willing to lose the battle in order to win the war. But for some freaking reason, I just did not have the patience during that arc. I lost it when Ryuen practically won everything. The fact he got his whole class to work was, I hate to say it, was pretty impressive. I thought to myself, bro, Ayano Koji, you're supposed to be the freaking invisible genius. Why didn't you win? Although I was able to calm myself down and convince myself, hey, don't worry, we will win in the end. Then the sports festival arc happens. Now this one dug its heels even more after the cruise ship test. Because how can you tell me that Kushida betrays them, Horikita gets injured and blackmailed, Sudo rage quits, and Ryuen knows their roster and how to counter them and even play rough to get the advantage? I mean, everything was just going against D-Class, ignoring A-Class since they barely did anything in that event. But at that point, I felt like this was over. I don't know why Ayano Koji's plan was to let them lose, and I don't even know what his plan was in the first place. But he asked one thing to Horikita. Just get Sudo back. And the pieces started falling together. Kushida and Ayano Koji sub in for the relay race. Ayano Koji runs magnificently without showing any effort that he's struggling. He loses though, cause some bastard fell in front of him, but the whole class seems to be a lot more better now. And wait, what's this? Horikita traps Kushida and Ryuen, who were both collaborating, but Ryuen outsmarts her by recording everything, but Ayano Koji Uno reverse cards him by sending an audio of their whole plan. Like, what? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was absolutely insane. An insane way to end that arc. At least this time, Horikita gets her ass saved. And also, by the way, I will never ever support the Horikita X Sudo ship, because that is literally one of the shittiest ships I've ever heard. Let's just agree that Horikita X Ayano Koji is far more superior, okay? Let's move on to the third arc. There's a lot of things I like about this arc. Firstly, the girl who was interested towards Ayano Koji, I did have my doubts, and it's understandable why. We know how the world of Classroom of the Elite works. We can't just trust anyone all willy-nilly, so I had some reservations about Sato, thinking she might be a plant, but I wasn't really that worried about her. The main thing I like about this arc was someone really thought going up against Ayano Koji was the smartest idea ever. Whenever Kushida had a smile on her face, telling in a cheerful way how much she wanted Ayano Koji and Horikita to get expelled, made me so mad. She's doing this because of attention. She wants attention and recognition. What? Like, I'm genuinely embarrassed for her. It's such a petty reason that I can't help but laugh, knowing the moment you bet against Ayano Koji, you're digging yourself a grave. I knew he was never going to lose the moment he gambled himself. He's the win condition, the guarantee. Seeing as how he barely did anything, yet proceeds to destroy Kushida in the process, gang. For a split second, I saw her face, I kinda felt bad for her. But then I remembered she tried to frame the GOAT with a serious crime, so I just stood up there and nutted all over my screen. Also, I found it kinda stupid why Ryuen would just give her the answer sheets as if there wasn't a possibility of them getting leaked, therefore compromising the chances of C-Class getting points. But apparently Ayano Koji just did a trade with him, which also makes sense for Ryuen. He's far more interested behind the mastermind of D-Class than some random girl. And I want to mention Koenji for a bit. You know what? I like the guy. He doesn't strike me as the type of guy to be dealing with matters like fighting between classes. He's the one guy you can trust, not because he's good at things, but because he literally doesn't do anything. He only does things for himself. But even then, he won't care about going to A class or even points. To me, he's the type of guy to dislike any kind of hassle or hindrance. Though there is the possibility of my opinion of him changing in the next season, but hopefully we do get to see more of him. And finally, we have the Karuizawa arc. I love this arc. I really do. This is where my hatred for Ryuen was at its peak. At the same time, I was thinking, depending on what Ayano Koji does, I will try to understand it. If he left Karuizawa, it would keep his identity safe and end up of any suspicion. Also, I respect Karuizawa's effort to keep Ayano Koji hidden, but I don't know what Ryuen is going to do to break her. I'm thinking it's to leak her past. Either way, he's gonna get what he deserves later on. The other option, which I forgot he could do, was just tell on the teacher and the student council president. That pretty much guarantees the expulsion of those bastards. I still would have been happy with that, but no. He does the one thing which I considered was the heroic option. He goes in there and saves her. He takes out the first guy, beats the dude bigger than him, and gently incapacitates Ibuki, which is low-key disrespectful. I don't know where he got those fighting skills, but clearly having connections and something about that white room molded him who he is today. And finally, he absolutely beats the living hell out of Ryuen. But he fights back. He tries to hurt Ayano Koji, but he doesn't feel anything. He then pummels the bastard to the ground, all while feeling nothing. He covers Karuizawa with his school uniform, and that very scene I felt like, damn, he actually has her in his fingertips. I mean, let's be honest here. Even if we told Karuizawa up front that he did this just to make her fully subordinate, that he manipulated her, she'd just say, I don't care. I don't want any girl to be his pawn. I want to be his only pawn. I'd be like, girl, you are crazy. But I'm low-key not against it. He did say he was gonna protect her, so the relationship kinda works. She likes it, he benefits from it. Sure, it's definitely a one-sided romance, but who's to say Ayano Koji can't change? People can say, oh, Karuizawa will just hinder him, blah blah blah. I'm way past that kind of thinking. I actually fuck with this relationship. As long as he protects her, and she doesn't get bullied and go through traumatic experiences anymore, I am 100% on board with it. That's why I can never see Sato and him be together. While they went out to date, she felt bad since Ayano Koji never smiled once. If that was Karuizawa, she wouldn't care at all. Because in her reality, Ayano Koji didn't leave her in that cold room. He swooped in, beat the bad guys, and wrapped her around with his uniform. That's the Ayano Koji she knows. No matter how many times he says, he's indifferent to everything. I freaking enjoyed this show. I know people in my previous video mentioned how season 2 and even season 3 was not faithful to the light novel, which I think it is a bit of a bummer if anime only's missed out on so much content. But I want to be honest. If I read the light novel first, who knows? I probably wouldn't enjoy the show. But so far, this was the first anime on this channel to consistently have 2 good seasons in a row. I love the characters, the story itself, and the fact that there's more to look forward to, like knowing what the White Room is, what kind of person is his father. Well, based on what he did to Ayano Koji's butler, not exactly a good person. Very controlling for sure. Not to mention, we are still in the first year. We have characters like Sakayanagi and Manobu, so I have nothing but more excitement for season 3. It might be trashy, yes, but I love this shit. Okay? Anyways, this is Aaron. Have a blessed day, afternoon, evening, everybody. I'll see you on the next season. Sayonara.